Hi, Jazz.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Feeling really great.
Good. You look gorgeous as always.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Everyone out there, this is Jazmin Briggs, as I call her, Jazz. And Jazz and I, our paths crossed when we were both going through the somewhat grueling experience of getting our NBHWC certification, which is the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches. It was quite the process. And I think I recall the day that Jazz and I think we had signed up to like do a coaching study thing together. And we both kind of looked at each other and went, what, what, are you feeling what I'm feeling? And we just really bonded. And I've been lucky enough to have her in my life ever since then. Jazz, if it's okay, I'm just going to go ahead and read your bio and then we can take it from there.
Awesome. Sounds great.
All right, cool. Get ready because this is some bio here. Jazmin or Jazz Briggs, holistic health, wellness, excuse me, and life coach, author, founder of Jazz Up Your Life, and aspiring yogi. Jazmin Briggs is a holistic health and wellness coach, author, and transformational speaker dedicated to helping individuals reclaim their vitality through mind, body, soul alignment, drawing from her personal journey of releasing 100 pounds in just 5 months. Through fasting and holistic practices, Jazz empowers her clients to feel safe in their bodies, break free from emotional and energetic weight, and create sustainable lifestyle changes. As the founder of Jazz Up Your Life, Jazz integrates restorative hypnotherapy, nervous system regulation, emotional alchemy, and embodiment practices into her signature programs, including Feel Safe, Release Weight, Letting Go, and Making Space. She has inspired thousands through her courses, social media series, and community challenges, offering tools that blend science, spirituality, and self-discovery. With an approach rooted in compassion, education, and empowerment, Jazz's mission is to guide others towards lasting health, deep self-love, and the freedom to live as their most vibrant, authentic selves. Boom. Woo. So as, just want to take a moment just to sort of say why we're here. And this podcast, Defining Success, is all about how people define success in their own lives, what they consider to be self-fulfillment, how they got there. And Jazz, I am so looking forward to hearing your story about how you got to where you are today.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much again for having me on. I'm super excited to just share and, be able to support people in some capacity on their, life's journeys.
So good. I guess given your bio, I mean, I feel like an obvious place to start is when you somehow made the decision to go on a weight loss journey. I don't know if that feels like the right place to start. This is your story, so please, you take over here and tell us what you think.
Yeah, no, definitely. That is a great place to start because it supported me in getting me to where I am right now. And I've had several weight loss journeys, but I'm gonna be sharing the last one because it's been my most holistic weight loss experience. So when you mention, losing 100 pounds in 5 months, I have lost 100 pounds two times before. In different ways, but we won't get too deep into that because I've gained it all back and more. That's why I always like to talk about weight as in, permanent weight release, not weight loss, because oftentimes we can lose weight, whether it be 5 pounds or 100 pounds, but often it can find us again and more. So I will start sharing my journey of just permanent weight release. And that did start back in 2019 when I was on an international trip of seeing the pyramids of Egypt. And I just kind of had a profound revelation just staring at these, one of the wonders of the world. taking photos and myself and some, and recognizing that I did not want to even look at these photos, much less share them with other people, because the woman that stands or sits in front of you now was not the woman that was, in Egypt experiencing just the Sahara Desert and so many other things. So I was feeling very like lost and depressed, and all of this really came to the forefront as I was in this place. So that's just kind of where it started, and I just had just the recognition that I had so much knowledge and information, but I was just kind of drowning in information but starving for a transformation, and all that was brought to the forefront while I was on this trip in Egypt.
Wow. If I may just quickly jump in to the listeners, get used to hearing these beautiful statements come out of Jazz. Starving for transformation while drowning in information. Is that how you said it, or did I say that right?
Yes,
I
you
mean,
did.
come on. They just flow out. That's so powerful. And if you don't, I thank you for sharing that. I can't, it's quite the image. If we could just take a second and imagine you standing there and taking in, a pyramid and feeling not good about yourself. And that must have been a really profound and strong, powerful moment. And I have to ask, that was 2019, and you had said you had lost tremendous amounts of weight before. So had you gotten to a point where you were feeling fed up? Is it that type of feeling? What exactly is the feeling?
Yeah, so basically, the feeling that I felt was just a little bit of quick history that, I went to, college and, got a degree in speech communication, got a master's in holistic wellness, had taken, life coaching certifications, health and wellness coaching certifications. So all this information, but it was just like I was experiencing a lot of information intake, but not information embodiment. I had just collected so much information, but I wasn't actually utilizing the information. So I had reached a point where I just got tired of feeling comfortable with disappointing myself. I was just feeling just like a lot of regret and disappointment. And, I was starting to see that, information, like applied knowledge is transformation, so I had a lot of knowledge, but since I wasn't using it, it was just as good as me not having it at all. That's how I was feeling.
Wow.
So, but yes, in the past with the releasing the weight, I was always on, the latest and greatest, fad diet, counting calories, working out like 3 hours a day, just all types of different things, taking, prescription, weight loss pills, taking, eating fake food and fake drinks that I would consider fake because they're definitely not like whole foods. So all the different things, and I got on something and I stuck to it because I, definitely know how to practice discipline, but each of these different plans was just looking from a physical perspective. I never incorporated the mind per se. I never really incorporated the spirit, the soul. It was just physically, let me get to this number on the scale, and at my highest, I was, over 300 pounds when I was, at the pyramids of Egypt, when I really just had that, just kind of like eye-opening revelation, like a culmination of just my life experience up until that point.
Gosh, hearing you talk about it, it sounds so all-consuming. It sounds like, at least that's just what I'm hearing. It's like, it just sounds and feels like and forgive me, I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but like, it's just what I'm taking from it. It's like almost like every day was like, what am I going to do today to try? What am I going to do today to try? And then I can only imagine the cycle that you were in, the way that you describe it. It almost sounds like almost every day felt self-defeating. Am I picking up on that correctly? Because I don't. Yeah.
Yes, yes, Mary, you definitely are, because that's actually how it felt. How people kind of will relate anyone that has ever been on a weight loss journey or still is on one now, just kind of like the roller coaster ride of like the ups and downs, the inconsistencies, the commitment, the trying, which is a word that is actually no longer in my vocabulary because I look at try as like an attempt. It's like a
Right.
cousin of insanity of like, I'm attempting, but I'm not really getting anywhere. So, and also that created more of a heaviness within myself. So, you were definitely correct.
And it sounds like almost you're when you're in that, it just becomes like a reality almost like. So I'm feeling really hearing how you have to kind of break free of that. So how did you break free of that?
Yeah, and as you're saying, break free, it reminds me of how I was really feeling like a prisoner, in my own body, mind, and soul, just like I put myself in just like a self-created prison. And that's exactly how I felt. So as part of the break free process, I went to good old YouTube and just was just kind of like just desperately searching for some solution, just like a one final solution to it all before I just kind of honestly just gave up and just considered, okay, this is my lot in life to be, overweight, obese for the rest of my life. At least, I'm good at other things type of energy. So I came across a YouTube channel actually called A Healthy Alternative. And I started, just consuming all their information. And they talked a lot about fasting and, water fasting and allowing the body to heal itself once given, the space, and the freedom. The body is designed to heal itself because it has an innate intelligence. And I did learn a little about that, in my studies, but not to the degree that this information was shared. And it just resonated with me. Just something about the information, how it's delivered, it all just really resonated with me. And after I watched like honestly over 200 videos, I was like, okay, you know what? I am going to give this fasting, give it a try. I feel like I tried everything else. Here's my, last ditch effort to get some sort of change. And that's what I did. So the first thing I did was embark on a 21 day water fast, a water only fast for 21 days. And, following the protocol, everything that I learned, I took copious notes and I released 40 pounds
Oh my gosh, in
um,
21
in,
days?
in 21 days.
Could,
And that was like a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual weight. Because I've come to realize
whew,
that weight does show up physically, but it's so many other types of weight that we hold.
right. Yes. Yeah. I just, I just saw, I was, sorry for a quick note. I saw this sign in a gym I was in the other day that said it's not the load that we carry, it's how we carry the load. So, like you're saying, it's in so many different ways. But that's incredible. And I do want to ask something before you continue on with this like mind blowing story. 21 days, 40 pounds is wow. I can't imagine what that felt like. When you said it resonated with you, I just wanted to sit on that for a moment because I feel like we say that a lot, like it resonates with me, but this clearly really resonated with you for you to jump in like that. And I feel like a key to success and to having success at life or at a project or whatever it is, you need to feel connected to it on some level. Could you describe what that felt like to you when you were like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to watch 200 videos and I'm going to do this. Like, what was that like? Is it a quiet moment? Is it a loud moment? How can you describe it?
Yeah, so one of my philosophies is like a rooting of information, a resonance of information, and a remembering of information.
Yes.
So within information, I think sometimes information is rooted inside of us, like a seed is planted, and we may hear it and it's planted, and we just kind of go on about our days in life. And then sometimes it's a remembering of information where it's like, okay, I've heard this information before. Like I'm remembering what someone said or where I read this. And then there's a resonance of information where it's like it's been rooted inside of me. I'm having a remembering of it, and now it's truly resonating with me in the sense that it is aligning with what is inside of me already and is ready to come out at this moment. So I don't think, a resonance just happens kind of in the moment immediately. I think it's a building up of it, and then when it resonates. So within this information, the resonance came because how fasting was described from a mind, body, spirit perspective, from like a holistic perspective. That is what most resonated with me, because I knew that I could, follow protocols from a physical standpoint, but my mindset hadn't shifted. I wasn't reframing my thinking. Also, my spirit wasn't on board. I didn't have that, passion and purpose for doing it. So as I was listening to this information, fasting, in my mind meant to, really start to like let go of things that, no longer served me. And that really it just really hit home for me.
Whew. So, and before we go back to what happens on day 22, because I know there's more, but when you're letting go of all of this, I can only imagine it feels extremely emotional, also probably enlightening and all of that. I mean, is it an emotional roller coaster? How were you able to take care of yourself during that?
Yeah, and you were so right, because it was definitely more of a emotional experience than it was, physically. Now, physically, in the first few days, I was feeling very fatigued and very tired and things of that nature. But after like day 4, day 5, I'm like, okay, I can do this. My body was going through something called autophagy, where it was, eating its own fat, and I had, plenty of it. So it's not like I was experiencing true hunger. But from an emotional standpoint, it was just like all these emotional seeds that had been planted over the years, all the emotions I had suppressed, so many feelings I hadn't dealt with throughout my whole life. It's like all this hydration, they were sprouting all these emotions, and everything was coming up from childhood on up to adulthood. It was just so much stuff. So I had to learn, in that process, a new way to cope, because often myself, and I'm sure a lot of people, cope with food. We use food as a coping mechanism for things we are not ready to deal with. So we just kind of like will eat our feelings, or do a lot of emotional eating. But when you take eating out the picture, it's like, okay, I get to find a new way to deal with these emotions. So this is when I started, journaling. Again, this was something that I knew about, I read about, had books on it, but I never embodied the practice. I just knew about it. So now I'm like, okay, let me grab one of my 30 journals I have and open up a fresh page and just journal what's coming up, because we have to feel it to heal it. It comes from releasing, not suppressing. And I had to, and I did a lot of crying, and that's just, it feels good for healing, just to release through tears. So journaling and crying were honestly just like my main two things of just releasing a lot of suppressed emotions that I had suppressed over the years, that showed up, physically, but it was actually emotional weight that I was holding.
Wow. Feel it to heal it. Whew. Yeah. Wow. I'm a little speechless. It's really incredible. So, okay. So you've got these 21 days and you're still, so day 22, you're still only drinking water, or what happens next?
Right. So this is breaking the fast on day 22. There is, a process, because for those that don't know a whole lot of fasting, the actual process of like fasting, drinking, a gallon of hydrating water a day is fine. Is really how people, break the fast that can be, potentially harmful because you haven't been eating. So you really break the fast with coconut water, fresh squeezed juice, and then you will move into juicy fruits, and then, incorporate grain. So after a 21-day fast, the proper way to break it is with like a 7-day refeed, when you're slowly adding in, heavy and heavier foods, and also ideally eliminating, foods that really don't align with you and your body. Processed foods for most people, refined sugars, just like really heavy fried foods, things like that. That would be an ideal time to not go back to eating those, because your taste buds really do change. So chemical, if you were eating like a lot of chemical type foods, you can totally taste the chemicals now. So day 22, I'd switch to fresh squeezed juices for the whole day, and then fruit, and then vegetables, and then so on.
And while that's happening, what's happening with your emotions while you're while you're processing all of this? You're starting to eat some foods. How are you feeling spiritually and emotionally?
I mean, I truly felt like I broke free of, the self-imposed shackles that I put on myself. I really did. I really felt free, like I had a new lease on life. I felt rejuvenated, renewed. And I mean, I was far from a weight loss goal, honestly, but just with those first 40 pounds alone, I felt hopeful again for life. Sometimes we can get in like a deep, dark place, but I saw a quote somewhere saying, when you're in the deepest, darkest place, it's like you're a seed being planted. And as you start to grow again, that's where you see the light. So it was like I was a seed being planted. And after the release of those 40 pounds, it was like I was just breaking through the soil, seeing the light again, and just all the possibility of life again.
Wow. So, okay. So I imagine I'm feeling like hearing you talk about this, there's sort of like the part one realization that you were fed up. And it sounds, if you don't mind my asking, how old are you at this point when you on the pyramids?
At the pyramid, so that was 6 years ago. So I was 36.
Yeah. So you're 36 years old and you're like, I'm done. You have this moment, you're fed up. You discover, so then that's phase one. Then phase two is really connecting with this healthy alternative program with the fasting. And then step three, I guess, is jumping in and doing it. And now you said you hadn't reached your goal yet. So what does that look like? How did you end up reaching the final goal of losing all this weight?
Yeah, so after the 40 pounds, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break and, figure out my next protocol. But life and times, right? We can all relate. I just got caught up in the daily, everyday life. I never, recommitted, to the fasting process or protocol. And, fast forward to November 2020 was when I was ready to, embark on the journey again. But a side note is I never gained that 40 pounds back, which is very exciting and powerful for anyone that has released weight before. And like I talked about it, it always finds us again and more. So by adapting more of a fasted focused lifestyle and practicing intermittent fasting, which is, for me, not eating from sun up to sundown, eating, say in a 6 to 8 hour window, that truly helped me to maintain that 40 pound, weight release, and also, eating hydrating, nourishing foods.
Right.
So, so then in November 2020, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go ahead and get this 100 pounds off. I need some support. I need some support. So I reached out to a coach for a healthy alternative who had, walked the path already that I desired to walk. And, I asked him like, hey, I have this goal to lose 100 pounds in 6 months. I know it's possible through different styles of fasting. I've watched these videos. If you could please be my, coach and accountability partner. I'm dedicated, determined, dependable, like whatever it is I need to do, just let me know. And he and I worked together for 6 months, and I actually released 100 pounds in 5, but it was just different styles of fasting, juice fasting, water fasting, eating like whole nourishing foods, hydrating things. So, it was a whole protocol that we actually both did together. And that was the outcome. By April of 2021, I had released another 100 pounds.
Whew, wow. And how has, first off, thank you, incredible. How has it been since then for you?
So since then, it's just been like a long-term dream.
Oh,
I've just been in a dream state because after I did that, and honestly, when I was deciding to do this, it was really for myself. I knew I had degrees and certifications and really wanted to help other people, not just release weight, but to find more joy and fulfillment in their life. Because again, I studied health and wellness and life coaching, so it's been always my passion to be able to help people in some capacity.
right.
So after the weight release, I was like, okay, so now I'm gonna start my business. And the Healthy Alternative reached out and asked if they could fly to Atlanta, interview me for their channel. And honestly, at first I was just like, thanks for the opportunity, but I can write about it because I'm not interested in being interviewed on your channel. And they're like, no, we really want to each one, teach one, reach one. Your story, your message, you can really help a lot of people. So think, beyond yourself, Jazz. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I did it. And overnight, what people call an overnight success is honestly the furthest thing from an overnight success. But honestly, overnight, once it was launched,
Right.
people from all over the world started reaching out to me to get coaching, to for me to support them, in their health and wellness journey, wanting to talk. And it's just really been like that ever since. And I'm a coach on their team, and I have my own, my Jazz Up Your Life company was launched. It's always been on the internet since 2017, but nobody knew about it because I was not ready
Right.
to share, because I wasn't, ready within myself. So
Wow, so it's been like a dream.
totally.
My gosh. Have there ever been any other times in your life that you were feeling like you were on a path and you intuitively knew it wasn't the right path, or, because you seem so in tune with yourself? And I'm hearing, like, just from talking to you, that so much of your success with this has been because it's aligned with you. You just feel, I'm just feeling it. It's like the synergy between you and the fasting and all of it just came together so beautifully. Have there been times in your life where you felt like you weren't aligned correctly and you were aware of it, but not sure what to do about it?
Yeah, there has been, and this is part of the reason why I always love to take a holistic approach to life, because just because one area could be going pretty well, if other areas aren't aligned, it just really, affects us as a whole. And for me, I have been in very toxic, unhealthy relationships, intimate relationships in the past, and that really took a toll on me and my health, and supported a large gain of weight in a short amount of time, because often people look at they see, heavier people, and they often think like, man, this person must eat all day long, so much stuff. And honestly, that's not always the case, because that's not particularly part of my story of, being over 300 pounds. I was holding on to, I was just in a very toxic, unhealthy relationship, and highly stressed, unrelaxed nervous system. And it really supported me in gaining a whole lot of weight. And it wasn't, equated to food per se, but it was a lot of emotional weight, and also just kind of the spiritual weight of knowing that I was not pursuing my passion and purpose, because I've known
Right.
for a long time what I've been meant to do, but not actually doing it creates another heaviness within you. So that's a time in my life when I definitely felt misaligned, and that was like for a period of like 7, 8 years.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's really what you just said is very it's big what you just said about a lot of people think, oh, that person's heavy, they must sit around eating. And a lot of times there are people who are heavy who will think, no, I don't. I actually don't. And I think, as you know, I have a background in the fitness industry, and there's definitely this energy of like, oh, please, yes, you do. Of course you do. How else would you put that weight on? Of course you eat. You're just not, admitting it. And to hear you say that, like, no, actually, it's more about holding on to it, and that's pretty, that's like really important information. To hear you say that, I've obviously you've mentioned it a few times today in this conversation, releasing the weight, letting go of the weight, and this idea of feeling safe. So, hearing what you've been through, where you got to, and how you've accomplished what you've accomplished, that idea of feeling safe, I know we mentioned it earlier in the beginning, that's one of your programs, is you help people feel safe to release the weight. How do you do that? How does one feel safe enough to release the weight? Because this is really important.
Yeah. And I've come to learn that because this was a newer concept for me, probably up until 2020, but true safety in the body is like the foundation of true healing and sustainable transformation. So if our nervous system is in constant, fight, flight, freeze, the body will hold on to weight. It holds on to tension. We feel anxious all the time, and we use it as a protective mechanism because we don't feel safe enough to release. So often people that are overweight, we use, basically the fat as a protection between us and the outside world, because it creates a false barrier of a sense of safety to feel, less seen, less noticed, so creating safety in the body is what allows our body to trust. It will tell our cells, our hormones, our digestion, that it's okay to soften, it's okay to let go. So when we feel safe in our body, we can start to move out of that survival mode into more creation mode. And we're all creators, we're all designed to create in some capacity. So being able to feel safe in the body is truly the foundation for most things. But my focus here is showing how feeling safe in the body helps to create, lasting weight release. And I learned this through another certification that I got called restorative hypnotherapy. And basically restorative hypnotherapy, so people, when they think of hypnotherapy, they often think of like stage hypnosis, and it's not like that at all. It's basically like a reset button for your nervous system. So it helps you to drop into a deep state of relaxation where your subconscious mind, which is, running 85-90% of our daily life, we like move through life on autopilot, all based on our subconscious programming. So through restorative hypnotherapy, we can, finally let go of old patterns and stress. And it's really powerful because real healing doesn't just happen in our conscious mind. It happens when our body is safe enough to release, and that is done through the subconscious mind. So hopefully that makes sense. I can maybe explain also. So this other example I'll say quickly about
Please.
restorative hypnotherapy is like this. I like to explain it like, imagine your mind is a computer with too many tabs open. We have our computer, we might have like 10 different tabs open. So restorative hypnotherapy helps to close out those unnecessary tabs so our system can run smoothly again. So it's not about, losing control. It's really about restoring balance. And that's the goal, alignment on the outside, homeostasis in our body on the inside.
What a great analogy to apply to anybody who's feeling not aligned or just out of touch with themselves, or lost. What a great way of thinking about it, just closing out those tabs. That's really incredible. And I'm wondering, when you're working with people, Jazz, do you find that it takes a while for them to warm up to this idea of needing to feel safe in order to release the weight, or do they come to you by the point that they're ready?
So most people haven't really made the correlation, because
Right.
most people that, come to me, they're just, desperately desiring to lose weight often. They would like to, practice some form of fasting, but it's a lot of compartmentalization of things. So I just kind of say like, well, thank you for coming, but we're going to take a holistic approach to this. And do you feel safe within yourself? Like, oh yeah, I'm safe, I'm great. So it's like, no, do you really? Like, really, let's think about it, And often
Excuse me.
things can stem things you've held on into from childhood, or, there's a reason why, a lot of us, don't feel safe within ourselves, but to really like think about that concept and, what it means, because a lot of people have it, whether you're overweight or not. Honestly, you want to feel safe within yourself, just like on a daily basis, to be able to practice like true nervous system regulation. And honestly, the quickest, easiest way to do that, just like a takeaway here, is just to practice conscious deep breathing. A lot. So our breath, it's the first thing we do when we come into this world, and it's the last thing we do when we leave. Breathing, right? So it's like we always are in a forever dance with our breath, but a lot of times when we are feeling anxious or stressed, we might hold our breath,
Sorry.
right? We might hold our breath. We just will stop breathing altogether. So being able to really drop into your body, meaning you have to be present with yourself to be able to practice conscious deep breathing. So whether you're doing, like the 4-4-4-4 box technique, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, release for 4, stay on the release for 4, and repeat that a few times. That will literally help to regulate your nervous system immediately, because it's letting the body know like, hey, you're there. Like, I'm here. Thank you for paying attention to me and oxygenating my body. It's really that simple.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? How there's so many drugs and quick fixes, and the list goes on. Not that there's anything wrong with those, to be clear. Everybody has their journey. And I know that you and I both have talked about that before, and we mean it sincerely. But when it comes down to it, what I really hear you saying is to truly lose weight and feel alive and free, you have to feel safe. And isn't it incredible that what you're telling us here is that one of the tools to do that is just our breath? Our breath. It's like, how many times have you seen on Instagram, like, take deep breaths, do this, do that? It's to the point that we've almost come numb to it. But it's real.
Yeah, it's so real. And people think that, because it's just so easy to do, it actually won't make a difference. But it's the things that are truly free make the most difference. Sitting in silence, meditation, you don't need to pay for that. You know what I mean? Going outside in nature, being in sunlight, staring at nature, you don't need to pay for that. The breathing, you don't need to pay for that. So the things that really make the most difference are the things that are, truly free.
So, Jazz, after sharing all of this incredible information about yourself and your programs and your general belief in everything, which is so powerful, how do you define success? What does success mean to you, Jazz?
Success for me. So for me, success, it really isn't just about achievements, it's about alignment. It starts with our relationship with ourself, because the relationship with ourself sets the tone for every other relationship in our lives. So the basis of that is, when we're honest with ourselves, beautifully honest with ourselves about whatever it is we may need to be honest about, when we build self-trust, true integrity to our word, our belief in ourselves, and when we actually listen and communicate with our body, those three things, we create, a foundation where everything else flows. And that's alignment, that is success for me. Having just true alignment on the outside and the inside, and, living in harmony with my mind, body, and soul. So I'm not forcing life, I'm flowing with it. That's me defining success.
I'm not forcing life. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. So, wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And, I would love for you to share where everybody can find you. And obviously, we will, as we post, we'll share all of your contact information there as well. But while we're here, please, where can we find you, Jazz?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Jazz Up Your Life. I will spell it once and everything else is Jazz Up Your Life, but it's JAZZ.UP.YOUR.LIFE. That's on Instagram, Facebook, Jazz Up Your Life. YouTube up and coming, so subscribe now. So that was like at Jazz Up Your Life and the number 7. And also my website is www.jazzupyourlife.com. So come join the soul tribe of Jazz Up Your Life.
And they'll get all the announcements about your workshops and everything on there, right?
Yes.
Great. And by the time this drops, I think you'll be a couple weeks out from your workshop, so we can do some stuff there. This is so exciting. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I personally can't wait to rewatch this, because as always, you drop those nuggets that just sometimes float by, and I can't wait to be able to listen to them and jot them down. Thank you so much, Jazz. You're incredible.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Appreciate you. It's been
Good stuff.